Call. I would like to call the meeting of North Fair Oaks Council to order. Before we do a roll call, I'd like to welcome our newest member. Well, you can welcome me again. Christian, welcome again, Christian. You're at the end of the table. Can we have the roll call?
Commencing roll call now. Vice Chair Salmon. Councilmember Daly.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez. Councilmember Esser.
Here.
Councilmember Whitney.
Here.
Councilmember Parisi. Councilmember Orozco. Councilmember Aponte.
Here.
And Chair Prado.
Here.
Sounds at least here. So, okay. So, free. Okay.
All right, just a quick announcement. We do have an interpreter joining us this evening in the back. If you'd like to listen to the meeting in Spanish, please use a headset provided at the back table. We will now move into public comment. Does anyone have a public comment on a topic not in the agenda for tonight? Please note the council may not discuss or take action on items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment?
If you would like to make a public comment, please bring a speaker slip up to the clerk during this time. For those of you joining this meeting online, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Each person will be granted 2 minutes to speak. Looks like we have no one on Zoom. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, having no speakers, we will then move on to our first agenda of item of business, agenda item 3, which is a action item. So we can present.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda before we start with the action item?
So moved.
Okay. Can I? Second, okay. Can we get an aye for everybody's approval of the agenda? Everybody, all right, thank you. All right, now we can move on to agenda item 4. Motion consideration to use permit. San Mateo County zoning regulations to install new wireless radio antenna facility along with associated equipment on the new utility pole consisting of 3 5G radios antennas, 1 4G radio, and 1 4G antenna. Your residential address 403 7th Avenue in Menlo Park within the right of way. So thank you, planning department.
Good evening. I'm Robbie Miller. I'm a project planner. This is a antenna replace. They're doing a new antenna, a new pole. It's in the right of way, so it's on the sidewalk, and it's right off the middle field on 7th Avenue in Menlo Park. So again, we're looking to your recommendation for a use permit for this new wireless radio and antenna facility, along with associated equipment, including 3 5G radios, antennas, 1 4G radio, and 1 4G antenna. Next slide, please. So the footprint itself is very minor because it's a utility pole essentially on the sidewalk. So there's really no footprint. It's about 5 square feet. And it's replacing exactly where an existing utility pole is located. The actual new pole is going to be taller than the existing pole, and it's going to get up to 37 feet. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the location of this pole is located right off of Middlefield in a major commercial corridor. And next to on the sidewalk, so it's in the right of way. This zoning district is actually neighborhood mixed use. So there's a lot of, in the area, there's a lot of commercial businesses, a mix of commercial and residential, and then a variety of single-family homes in the area. This, next slide, please. So this pole itself, here's the existing utility pole. You can see it's right in front of a mixed-use building. There's commercial in there, but there's also residential on top. Okay, next slide, please. So here's the proposal. You can see the existing pole. It's on the left-hand side. They're showing the similar, the same pole. Yeah, it's basically the same image. It's just showing one viewpoint directly on facing, and then from the side profile. So you can see the existing, how it looks, and how it's going to look. So not much difference. It's just going to be taller. So we find that this area is minimal flood zone, so no hazard there. It's in the area of commercial activity and multi-use buildings. So there's a lot of demand in the area for this kind of use. We also find that it's compliant with our general plan. One particularly is making sure the utility structures have minimal adverse visual impacts. And you can see there's not much visual impact at all from what's, especially since there's one already existing. For the new equipment that's going on, we are planning to have them paint the equipment to match the pole. So it's going to match the pole and blend in. We also find that we think it's compliant with the North Fair Oaks Community Plan. Appendix D recommends that the county partner with wireless service providers to help modernize wireless technology. We feel like this advances in the spirit of that. We feel like this project advances that policy. We also find that there's compliance with our wireless telecommunications facility ordinance in terms of development and design standards. There's the location itself has no sensitive habitat areas. It's not located in a residential zoning district. The zoning district is neighborhood mixed use, NMU/DR. And it also allows accommodation. It can accommodate co-location, so that's feasible as well. That's where other facilities can come on and join on the facility itself. So it meets that. It also, again, paint colors to minimize visual impact. We're seeking the applicant to paint the equipment to match the pole. Also, we have a policy to say that there should be no non-reflective materials. We're going to ask the applicant to we're gonna condition that the colors are non-reflective. And that the wireless communication facility shall comply with all requirements of the underlying zoning district. In this case, because it's in the right of way, there's not, besides height, there's no other zoning districts requirements to comply with. And in terms of height, the actual zoning district height maximum is 50 feet. That's specific for antennas are allowed to go up to that height. And this one is going to be 37 feet, 10 inches. Next slide, please. Also, just add that it's exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. So our recommendation is for the North Fair Community Council to provide a recommendation to the Director of Planning and Building approving the proposed wireless telecommunication facility atop the utility pole in the North Fair neighborhood.
Great, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from council members at this time? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we'll start with Christian, that's fine.
Thank you for your presentation.
Okay. I guess my first question would be, how does outreach for these type of programs work? Like you showed in the picture, it's right in front of an apartment, I guess. Like, does that resident getting notice, or would they have to be like looking at the agenda of our council meetings to know about this?
The owners of within 300 feet were sent notices, letters that this project was happening.
And were there any alternate locations considered before that right-of-way pole?
The applicant is here, so I think I defer to the applicant in this question.
Yeah, we look at all. Basically.
Can you please come up to the mic?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
No worries. Hi, my name is Jason. I work for Crown Castle. I'm a permitting specialist. Yeah, we take into consideration alternates. Basically, we're a neutral host provider, so we build these facilities for carriers like this particular is going to be for Verizon. And so they basically give us a location that they would like to kind of help with their network. And so what we do then is we go and look at the location and we make sure it's like a viable option. We look at all the aspects because there's a lot of regulations, GO 95, PG&E standards that we have to kind of adhere to, as well as, you know, the San Mateo County as well. So we definitely take into consideration the best location, and for this application, this is what we came up with. So yeah.
Thank you. And what does the lifespan of the facility look like, or like the maintenance required for it?
I think it's really minimal maintenance on these. Generally, typical like permits are good for like 10 years for a small cell site. Michael, do we really want to kind of expand on it? Yeah. This is my manager.
Hi, my name is Michael Cintron. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. So the lifespan of the facility, when we build it, the kind of life cycle of the equipment that's being placed there now, probably somewhere between 5 and 10 years. At some point in the next 5 or 10 years, they're going to want to come and update the equipment. Just like with your home Wi-Fi router, you probably don't want a Wi-Fi router that's 10 years old. It's kind of the same idea. They're going to be deploying whatever the latest generation of equipment at the time is. But those do require permits, right? So at that point, then whatever changes to the facility are proposed will come before the planning department. And I imagine we'll come through a process very similar to this. But my experience has been anywhere between 5 and 10 years is kind of the lifespan of equipment that's proposed at each of these facilities.
Thank you. And for those people who received the letter within 300 feet, did you get any community concern?
No, not today. We haven't received any.
And so is there anything there to monitor or make sure to verify the safety of the radio frequency emissions?
Yes, we do provide EME reports. All that's taken into consideration. Everything is following the FCC guidelines. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add that planning has a requirement for all telecommunication facilities to renew their permits, their use permits every 10 years. So there's a chance that we get to make sure that everything is following regulations.
Are you done, Christian?
Yeah.
With your questions? Okay. Brooks, I believe you were next. Blair? I'm sorry.
I got something.
Brooks. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, quick question on this. Can other carriers piggyback on one of these things to their company share these poles? So if we wanted to increase the service for people who aren't necessarily Verizon customers, could this pole be used by other providers as well? Or is
The
that
short
just-
answer is yes, if you want more information.
Yeah, I'll just kind of quickly speak to more to it too. Right now it's currently, it will be for Verizon, but typically, ideally, we like to co-locate. So we would have to be approached by another carrier and then they would, we do a contract with them if they want to jump on the same pole.
Okay, so at some point, people in the community, regardless of which service provider they use, could benefit.
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's all I have. My other questions were answered.
Thank you. Blair, did you have something? You don't have to speak if you.
Okay.
Okay. Beatrice?
I just wanted to ask, how long will the process take, and are you planning to install new poles in the future, new antennas in the area of North Fair Oaks?
No, currently, this is just the one location. Process is fairly quick. I think, everything is overhead, which makes it easy. It's all, utility poles in the area. It's not underground, so it's less intrusive. I think maybe, I don't even know if I want to say the fiber will probably take a longer part, but really it's just pulling strands at the existing pole. So the construction of the actual site itself, it's probably less than a week. Yeah, it's fairly quick. They put these up really quick.
Will you be closing that street right there?
Yeah, there's proper traffic control, we provide that too, we submit for the permit, so yeah, yes, they will have probably coned out, because there'll probably be a truck right there.
You done? Okay, Kathleen?
Thank you for your presentation. What is the upside of this for my community? What does it bring my community?
Well, for one, it kind of relieves Verizon's network. We all know that, mobile usage and cell phone usage is at an all-time high right now. So introducing this to the area helps relieve, like maybe the main tower, wherever that might be. And we're also introducing 5G to the spectrum too. So it's a combination of 4G and 5G. 5G is a new technology. 5G is going to provide a lot more data, higher speeds. So people in that area will be able to benefit from it as well.
So this new equipment, it's replacing something, or this is
No,
brand new?
It's brand new. Yeah,
It's
there's
brand
nothing
new.
there.
And who pays? Who pays in the end? Correct, right.
Which is placing the certification of that.
Can you tell me, are there similar neighborhood situations that the company's gone into to put these and where they might be located?
Sure, yeah. Are you looking, we currently right now, we have projects all around. This is actually part of our Redwood City project. And so we have about 44 sites right now permitting in Redwood City. And this is kind of going the opposite way. And we actually have 3 sites in Atherton as well that we are currently permitting for as well. So,
Have any of them been approved yet?
we do have approvals in Redwood City. We have some changes where we need to actually upgrade permits because of the changes. Atherton, we're still kind of in the permitting process. Each jurisdiction is kind of unique in itself to where some require different steps within the permitting process. So we have a few with Redwood City. Like I said, we've built sites in San Mateo. We also had a big project that we completed in Oak Grove. I'm not sure how many sites. 100 sites? Yeah, we did about 100 sites in Elk Grove. We are permitting in Union City. I mean, basically kind of all around the area.
And of all of them, how many of them have been approved?
Oh, that's a tough question. Off the top of my head, do you remember?
I'd say a large majority of the sites that we go after. And then we also. So we don't get a lot of denial because we work with jurisdictions to those sites.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly?
Thank you for this. So I have a lot of questions. First is, I'm really interested, Christian, it's so nice to see you and meet you. I'll talk to you after. But he asked a question that I don't actually think you answered really well, which was how are community members informed about this? This is I know we keep using the word mixed residential, but literally in the photo that was on the presentation, there are apartments right in front of that pole. And you also said that this is going to be the first of many other installations of cell service. This is the like Trojan horse of like cell service in this neighborhood, and this is residential. Yeah, it's on the corner, but there are apartments there, and there are apartments and houses all down that street. And we know this from our tree work, the current, what they need to do to notify people is not adequate for people who would care. So and also many of these are not owner occupied. So these are people maybe not as invested in the community as the people living there. So can I first ask you about how many people received this communication and if there was any responses? And can we expand the boundary of who gets communicated about this? Because I think that's the most reasonable request.
Yes, okay. Let me search in the staff report on the distance. They were required to do a RF radio frequency analysis report in terms of the concern of it living up there. I mentioned this, so this pole is higher than the existing pole, so it's actually above where a lot of the radiation, which I'll let them talk about more. We did a report and it's safe in terms of government federal regulations. They can talk about that more. So we did look at that aspect, and I'll let them talk while I look at the.
Okay, so currently this is the one site just in this location. The other ones, like I said, we have 3 going into Atherton, but for this actual street in this neighborhood, this is the only site that we're looking to build.
Yes, and you mentioned that then this would be a site other cell phone carriers could add on to.
We could co-locate, it does have the potential to co-locate where these equipment would attach to the same pole.
Yes, and again, the question was, how many people have been communicated about this? And is there really, and my second question, which I'll just jump to now, since the first one I don't think you can answer, is what is the sorry, question to go back. Oh, what is the oh, I know, commercial locations. We've talked a lot about how this site is mixed use, but literally there's residential and like right there, and that's a whole street of residential. These cell phone towers are really more apt for commercial areas. This is not a strictly commercial area. I'm very curious what your company's due diligence was to look for appropriate commercial areas in the neighborhood.
That's a good question. Like I mentioned, we have, I don't want to say we have complete control of these locations because it is for Verizon. So Verizon kind of comes to us, like I mentioned, looking to kind of help their network. And so they provide us with locations themselves. Then we look at it, like I said, and we try to find the best fit location, and we have to move it. We can't really move it. We're kind of limited to how far we can move it. So, I don't know.
I mean, I think that's what it is, right? We're providing the location to build a facility that's private.
Sure.
This instance, we did what, I think that it's important to state that this is a small wireless facility, not a tower, right? It's a small 2-foot antenna.
Right now, yeah.
Yes, you're right now.
Yeah.
But there are size requirements on small wireless facilities by the federal government. And in comparison to like a tower that has like 4, 5, 8-foot by 2-foot antennas on 3 different directions, so 12 8-foot antennas. It's not the same type of facility. It's much smaller. It's much less intrusive.
So
You're not gonna build that.
the question was, what commercial facilities and options did you review? I get that Verizon told you like that corner would make the most sense to bounce off their big tower to provide additional access. What I'm asking you is, and what the law requires, is that they go to commercial centers first. So my question to you is, what specifically addresses, what commercial centers did you evaluate for this tower?
I don't have that information. To my knowledge, it's not something that's required under San Diego Municipal Code by site analysis. And so it's not something that was provided as part of the application. So I don't have that.
I'll just add that this is actually, it's not a residential zoning district where this is going to be located. It's a mixed use area. And right along.
It's on 7th Avenue. There are apartments right above it. We are in a housing crisis, so we have to put housing wherever we can see fit. There is a commercial center right across the street at Chavez Market. Was that considered? Were any of the commercial areas that do not have apartments that are going to be looking at these wires considered?
I believe so. There's various internal groups that kind of handle the review of this. So if we could possibly get back to you with more information.
I'd love that.
Sure.
I would love more thoughtful conversation around this
Sure.
and to involve more community members, and I'll see the mic.
And I will So to get back to your question about the noticing, so it was noticed, 300 feet to property owners. It was noticed in English and in Spanish.
Okay, thank you. My question is, the proposal here are for specific, amount, 3 5G radios and antennas, 1 4G radio and 1 4G antenna. So aside from these, antennas mentioned here, if in the future they want to add more antennas, would they have to come back to the community in order for them to add more, or what would be the procedures then?
I actually don't know. I can look again. I'm not sure if you all would see it again. So I think I have to get back to you on that as well.
Okay, because like I said, there are very specific number of antennas and type of antennas, but I hear conversation of, oh, well, then since this will be initially installed, we could just easily add to it. So I'm just curious, is there no procedure for adding to what was being presented here to us tonight?
We do. So the FCC has taken control of a lot of this, right? So there, we have to factor in FCC regulations, which I'm not very well versed in off the top of my head.
We would have to apply to
Yeah.
introduce, but it would be another permitting process.
Yeah, so we would generally, it would require a building permit for sure. Planning does look at those building permits, and that's when we would, look to see, does it meet FCC regulations? Usually there's a threshold of how much they're expanding. That if it's under that, then they can, go through the building permit and get a building permit, but if it's over the limit, the threshold limit, then, we would, it would trigger a use permit modification, perhaps, and we would probably do the same thing here, so we would be able to look at it again.
But if a permit is required later, would they be obligated to come to the community first or not?
Again, there's a threshold, it's certain, it depends on whether, there's a couple thresholds on how much they might raise the height, expand outward.
Yeah, there's big limitations when you want to do a modification. It has to stay within a certain limit set by the FCC guidelines. I'm not quite familiar with what exactly is required, like through the county with the process. I do definitely know that there is a process. We are going to have to permit again if we're going to introduce additional equipment to it or modification to the pole.
Chair, I could provide some additional
Please.
context for you. So this is an area that's heavily regulated by the federal government. There's a federal statute called the Spectrum Act from, I believe, 2012. Where once a wireless facility is established, if a new proposal comes in that's not, doesn't significantly alter the size, and so that's what the planner was referring to, the height and the width. Generally, there is a ministerial approval process that's actually fairly quick, but that is for once a wireless facility is established. So there is under federal law an expedited process for approving additional co-locations that don't, as defined, significantly change the size of the facility.
One of the terms is called.
Okay, Kathleen, you have further questions?
When building and planning took a look at this project, and you mentioned the North Fair Oaks community plan, you said spells out that we want to improve telecommunications, things like that. What else did you take into consideration, or did this just check a box that said, oh, this enhances telecommunications in North Fair Oaks, so let's, you know, if it meets all the other requirements, what other criteria did the county use to decide that this is something that fits into our community plan? But going back to kind of like, what's the benefit to North Fair Oaks?
So this was, my colleague, who's out of town, so I can follow up on that. So I don't know the extent of how much. Into the plan itself. So what I told you was what. It is gonna happen. So,
I actually have another question. I know that part of the Middlefield Road project was to provide free Wi-Fi along that corridor. Is this something that the planning department was planning on the community using? That was projected to be free Wi-Fi along Middlefield Road. Can you speak to that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Blair, any comments? Anyone else have any other questions? Please.
So did you do like a propagation map to see where the gaps were and where there would be suitable locations? And is that something you presented to the county before you provided the application for this specific location?
So like what Jason said, like Verizon comes to us and says, we have a problem with the. They didn't provide a propagation map, they provided a location, how far from the location, provide a site, fix that problem. So I think to like where you're going, like where are the issues? They're not gonna want us to build a site and then pay us for it. There's not an issue in that particular area. As far as propagation maps, I don't know if it's not something that can be required by municipality under the federal.
So did you provide that with the county, but as part of your application package? Full transparency to see where the gaps are that we can see?
No, we didn't.
Is that something you would provide us?
No.
It's not.
Under federal rules, municipality cannot.
Okay, and you won't volunteer.
Under recent federal rules and interpretations, the carrier choosing to densify its network is justification enough. There used to be an old process through which carriers and companies like ourselves would need to prove a gap in coverage, but in the late 10s, that's changed.
Okay, so, but earlier we discussed this and you will provide the locations that were commercial that you considered?
You can. That's the hard part, because
Why they weren't viable, that's just, this is a mixed residential, I would actually argue this is
I
residential.
understand what you're saying completely. I can take a quick look because generally it's really based on what the jurisdiction requires. Sometimes the jurisdiction requires an alternate site analysis, which is kind of similar to what I think you're kind of leading to. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was required for the county, because if it wasn't required, then more than likely we didn't create an alternate site analysis.
Doesn't state law require this to be commercial first and mixed use if that's like the next best alternative?
I don't believe so. I'd have to look state law.
I think residents would say.
There's no state law.
Yeah, I don't think state. There's. That's kind of.
The question is, aren't they required to look at non-residential commercial areas first? Because I understand this is technically classified as mixed residential, but anyone who lives on that street, I'm very close to that. And I know a lot of people here who live on that street, and you can see the apartments where that's gonna go up. I would argue that is a residential neighborhood.
So we do look at that. The county does have regulations in terms of location, and as part of our wireless communication facility ordinance. And as I mentioned, we say that no new wireless shall be located in areas of residential. So in this case, as I mentioned, it's not zone residential, it's zone mixed use.
There are apartments you can see from that telephone pole, that utility pole. I would respectfully disagree. It's mixed residential. There are literally apartments you can see that will see this new tower. This doesn't, I understand the letter of the law, but the letter of the people that live there, this just doesn't feel right. I'll see the big.
Are there any other comments, questions, Christian?
I guess it's a question for staff or whoever can answer. Can we table this? Because we do have some things that we asked to look before making a decision, right?
Yep, that'll be one of the options.
Thank you.
A quick one. Thanks so much for your presentation tonight. I've learned a lot about this kind of capability and that sort of thing. And I don't know if you have this kind of perspective, if you do a lot of work in the North Fair Oaks area and can kind of compare, you know, the 4G, 5G capability available in our area to surrounding communities, Redwood City, Atherton, Palo Alto. Are we comparable to them, below them in terms of the quality of the service? You know, kind of where do we rank? And the reason I ask is this the sort of thing we ought to be encouraging other providers to come in and do to improve service to them? And if you don't have that perspective, that's fine. Just thought we have experts in the room. I thought that's.
So what I'd say is, you know, we're proposing these types of facilities around this area. In this community, particular in North Fair Oaks, this is the only one. We have sites in Atherton that we're proposing. We have sites in the city we're proposing. We have sites in the department. So let's say it's a lot of the same issues that this proposed site would solve. We're doing the exact same thing in your neighboring areas. So I couldn't tell you whether or not a particular city had a particular better coverage and capacity per carrier. But our clients are looking to better their networks all around this area, not just in this specific spot.
I appreciate it. And it sounds like there's even more going up in other communities as well, just to improve service. Okay.
Yeah, it's necessary to increase the capacity of the networks, right? So more and more people are using the so much data that can go through the existing networks, and so that's why the carriers are upgrading and adding capacity to meet the demands that their customers are creating.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
My questions for the planning. You said that property owners were notified 300 feet from the site. How long ago, or what was it? How many weeks notice were they given?
At least 10 days prior to here.
Which is
10 days.
Is that I'm assuming that's a normal protocol in this type of situation. So as far as the planning department is concerned, this project is completely compliant with county regulations in every aspect. Any comments, questions? Okay, well, if there are no other further discussion on this matter, it is an action item, so we do have a
Public comment. We have a,
public comment. Please, sorry.
we do have public comment. Want to clear your name, so you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council. I am actually here to represent the neighborhood because we did find out about this only a couple days ago. With all due respect to the planning department, it was roughly 6 houses in the 300-foot radius, which is what we typically have when we have the tree issues. So on behalf of the residents in that area that I was able to communicate, I'd like to speak for them. We don't have a problem. We're technologists, we live in technology, we understand the needs for that. But the question again comes back to how urgent is it? What is the growth? What is the requirement for this in this area? It is a residential primarily. Thank you, Councilmember Parisi, on that. The Middlefield Road is commercial. We know that, but that is literally one building. Rest of that neighborhood is all residential. There's schools nearby. So yes, there is usage. We understand there is a need to relieve it. However, half a mile away, there's this giant AT&T tower, which has massive amounts of capacity. And in the 12 years that I was living in the neighborhood, never had an issue with signal service coverage. And we have fiber, we have all sorts of things. So we're not against the technology. With a larger utility pole, not only do we end up raising and making that a higher profile over all the buildings, there's that area for growth, more things. We've all seen the cell towers grow. That becomes more of a visual blight in that neighborhood. And finally, I'd like to respectfully ask that we are looking at trying to remove utility poles. I know we're doing that along Middlefield Road. We want to look into the North Barrows to underground a lot of the facilities, especially to prevent power outages that we've had in the past, working with the trees to make sure that they have a healthy canopy and all these other areas. So by putting in a new pole with a larger facility and a bigger site, that may make it more difficult for us to maintain the character of the neighborhood and what we're looking for. So I respectfully ask to either delay or deny the permit from the neighbors as we have the information at this time. So, thank you very much.
Are there any other public comments regarding this specific item? No public comment. Okay, well then we'll need to take a can I get a motion for this item? All in favor? County attorney, do we need to first deny the motion to approve if we need to modify the motion?
Chair and council members, there's currently no motion on the table, so you could make any number of motions. One of those could be to continue the item to a future hearing, to request the applicant to provide additional request information.
I'd like to make a motion to delay this and allow the applicant to respond to the questions in the county as well that have been raised here this evening.
Mr. Chair.
Can I ask a question with regard to the motion and what that does to the approval process? I mean, we have a voice in this. The next step is, I don't know who the next step is.
I would defer to the
I mean, I don't know if this winds up before the board or planning commission, or where does this go from here?
The zoning hearing officer,
Okay,
yes. So this, the recommendation tonight is for you all to make a recommendation for approval. But I understand there's a motion.
is there a hearing date for the zoning hearing officer to review this? I'm just trying to understand what,
Yes.
and when is that hearing date?
Doesn't look like, it hasn't been scheduled yet.
Do we have a sense of when that might be? I'm just trying to figure out if denying this thing will have any impact on it, or if delaying it would have an impact on the process. If it does not, we should either approve it now if it's delaying, especially if it pushes it past the the zoning hearing, doesn't have any impact on the process.
The zoning officer, hearing officer meets twice a month.
Okay.
I know two have been canceled in August. Other than that, I can tell you the items now that are going, if we can get it on a hearing before that, or if it would have to be after August. If there's sort of to be delayed.
Okay, but it wouldn't appear on the zoning officer or the zoning hearing officer's agenda until the council does something one way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does it stop with us then if we deny it? Can the zoning person? Or is it done at that point?
Council members, no, as an advisory body, you have the authority to gather information that you're doing and then make a recommendation to the decision maker. And the decision maker will receive that recommendation and make their decision one way or the other.
I think there's some challenges because I don't know that it sounds like Verizon picked this site. These guys are doing what their client asked them to do, so I'm not sure that, in all fairness to them, they're gonna be able to come back because I have a problem with the zoning in North Fair Oaks. We've had that problem ever since I joined the council in terms of what's mixed use, what's residential, what's not. Everything gets pushed to North Fair Oaks because that we kind of get to be the guinea pig for, I want to see Atherton approve this first. So I'm all about, like, I know what I want, how to vote, and then it's not a reflection of the presentation that you guys have given or planning. I also just think that planning and building just says, yeah, okay, let's just put it in North Fair Oaks. And I joined because I want things to stop happening in North Fair Oaks just because.
I understand that. That's why I clarified from the planning, if this was compliant, and it's compliant in every way. If we have other issues, I don't know, we need to take that up with the powers that be, but and we all are free to vote what we want to vote. So what do we want to do with your motion? Okay, you put the motion? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, which is, can you repeat it again?
Yeah, hi, I'd like to propose a motion that we delay this decision until we get, what'd you say? Continue, thank you. Continue this until we get more information about the issues and questions that council members raised from the proprietors and city council, county council staff on outstanding.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Can I? Oh,
Second.
we need a
I'll
second.
second.
So second?
No.
Okay, all in favor of this motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Aponte,
Aye.
Councilmember Kathleen Daly,
Aye.
Councilmember Brooks Esser,
No,
Councilmember Blair Whitney. Is that a no? Councilmember Kelly Parisi. Councilmember Beatrice Orozco,
Aye.
Chair Prado,
Aye.
motion passes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes, yes.
Okay, we have the results.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will now move on to our next item, which is the discussion of the North Fair Oaks 2025-2026 work plan. Review of 2025 draft work plans goals. And before we start on a discussion with this, just as way of clarification, we were not able to get obtain quorum from our members at the last meeting, so we cannot use that info or make reference to that because it was not officially a meeting, because it was not a planning session, because we did not have enough members there. So just to point that out. Well, you can reference it, but just say that as ideas. You know what I'm saying? You cannot make reference to the fact that, you know, it was a planning session. Just, yeah. Ideas, exactly.
Through the chair, and just to clarify, we're talking about the study session that happened in April. Or May, yeah, so that's what we're talking about. We didn't have a full forum, and so we can't really refer that to actual meeting.
Okay, and these are the, as we can see here in our agenda, these are the 3 priorities that we had agreed to our previous discussion. Pedestrian safety, addressing overcrowded parking, and economic growth. So these are kind of general themes and items that we have discussed. And I think it's important that we follow up to see what has happened with our subcommittees that we've created and how we can move forward, particularly, you know, because this is 2025, 2026. So kind of a long-term plan. So I open this up to the floor.
Yeah, I am of the belief that there are things that we still don't really know or understand within the community. So I am proposing and been working on 2 surveys to take a look at talking to residents in some of the neighborhoods, and I'd basically be asking possibly for some money from D4 to hire some promotores to go door to door in the neighborhoods and along Middlefield Road to talk with a survey to talk to them about their feelings about certain things. We knew parking was an issue a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it came to Middlefield Road. Things have changed a little bit. And I would be willing to go door to door. I've started to draft a few surveys, one with pedestrian safety or safety within the neighborhoods, talking to people about what they would like to see, you know, coming up with a list of questions. I think we can do this together as a team, either with individually or with, you know, people that were on the committees. But I feel like we just keep saying we know there's problems, but I don't feel that we're prepared. And I want to try to circumvent or not have this process duplicated by county staff in terms of DPW or planning or everyone else going back out and redoing work that I feel to be on this council, I should know the answers firsthand as well. I shouldn't rely on the county to go get that work done for me. That's my reason to be on this council. So I'm willing to do the work. Ideally, I would like to take some Spanish speaking people with me. It would help. And I feel like the cost to the promotores to go door to door. I think we also need to go back down to Middlefield Road, especially in light of kind of what's going on across the country right now, checking in with our business owners and vendors and just making sure that things are looking good, but then also has parking changed? Is anything new in that regard? And I feel like we keep saying, oh, we know, well, you know, and we say we have the data. Well, we don't really have the data, but I don't want to wait for the county necessarily. Even if a lot of what we collect is anecdotal, I will feel better about making decisions and reaching out to supervisor for some request when we know what we're talking about, other than just saying we know.
Is anyone else
No,
interested?
yeah, I think that's a really good idea. It just brings us back to our mission as to why we're here in the first place. And also an invitation to invite the community if they can come and participate. It's really sad. There's nobody here. Luckily someone came in and, you know, they shared their experience and how they felt about what we talked about. But it's important for the community to stay active, especially right now, everything that's going on. We need to stay united as much as we can and just stay in the loop of what's really going on. If you need help, even maybe just creating a simple Google form. I know El Concilio and Redwood City together work with a lot of promotores, a lot of youth who I think would love to participate in this. I can help you.
Building on that and also building on discussion, or sorry, my daughter is trying to get home a lot of days, trying to make sure she had safe. The thing that drove me to this council is not just my community activism, but also the fact that I have always felt that things happen in North Fair Oaks that we don't have a voice or a vote. And I think we saw that here this evening. And as it relates to our pedestrian safety initiative and any of the other initiatives, people decide, oh, we're gonna put the cell phone pole on this or that, without actually talking to community members and doing the work to see how it impacts community. And I said this to Beatrice and Juan Carlos, this was not at our study session, so it's totally legit. This is a text message with just 2 other members, Brown Act compliant. And there was a recent death on Middlefield Road of one of my kids' coaches. And they all knew him right near Encinal School. He was on a bicycle, Atherton garbage truck. They are now looking in Atherton and Menlo Park proper, changing the speed limits. No, getting all the homeowners to, write in, get a speed bump for permits, to do a study. No, they're just doing it. That doesn't happen in North Fair Oaks on issues. And for those of you who, I heard something, I won't tell you where, but a car flipped over on Fair Oaks near the school where we are talking about doing this speed bump, not stop signs because they don't work. And a car flipped over. That's how fast it was going near a school. If that had happened in Atherton or Menlo Park, there would just be no let us convene a study group, let's talk about it. They would take action, as they are doing because of what happened to this coach on Middlefields Avenue. And I know that's not really anything. I'm just frustrated that we have to go through so many hoops and hurdles to do things because we don't have a mayor or a city council. I mean, this is something I talked to our new supervisor about, and we talked about it in our small group only. And I just think we need to start going to the source and stop trying to crowdsource this and do all the hard work. We know when there are certain problems. I don't disregard what you're saying, Kathleen, about feeling all the other, I don't mean to discount what you're saying. I'm just saying when there's a known problem, like what's happening on Fair Oaks and other parts of North Fair Oaks, they're used as a thoroughfare and cars are getting flipped over and accidents, and we should be able to get action without having this lengthy process.
Thank you. Anyone else regarding, we're gonna try to focus on these ABC, the 3 pedestrian safety, addressing overcrowded parking and economic growth. Christian?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, it was an April study session and I wasn't installed yet. So I'll just kind of, give out ideas. For pedestrian safety, I'm sorry. Like Kelly was saying, I think 3 years ago, there was a car that also flipped over, where Supervisor Gautier's office is now. So I don't know if Supervisor Gautier even knows about that, but she would probably want to know, why did that happen? I think it was it was before it was in the supervisor office that's when it happened. But I remember it being on the news and wondering how fast was that car going for it to flip over? So I also brought up that the accident that happened over in Atherton, because I biked through that bike lane before. And also last month, what that accident in El Camino and our southern border with the city of Redwood City. That accident that hit a 17-year-old girl. It was barely reported. I don't even know what happened to the girl. Like, is she alive? Apparently the guy had a medical episode. That's what they're saying. And I thought because it was in North Fair Oaks, the San Mateo County Sheriff was gonna report on it, but it's Redwood City Police Department reporting on it. So I don't know how we can get any info on that, but that would be appreciated. Because again, pedestrian safety is, I guess right here is a good example. The railroad crossing that's gonna be closed this weekend. That traffic stop light, it's not on yet. And like I've mentioned, cars are just speeding by. And so hopefully with the work that's being done this weekend, we can get that addressed. And then overcrowded parking, on Middlefield Road, I did ask, the presenters from last month, how long does it take traffic to settle? So we can maybe look into, parking meters on Middlefield Road. And then for economic growth, I think there was a talk about a North Fair Oaks Business Association. So maybe bringing that up again would be something that we can look into for this year, next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Anyone else? Kathleen?
If in one of these plan goals, we have a specific idea, how do we as a council agree to bring that idea forward?
Well, we've kind of floated a lot of ideas out there. One of them being that we formalize these concrete items and present them formally in a letter in person to the county supervisor and express to her our priorities and the necessity for us to move with action on these priorities.
So if I have one specific idea for a parking situation, do I need to ask you to make that an agenda item? And then actually, at the same time, make that an agenda item for our next meeting, so then we can discuss it and hopefully agree to write that letter to the supervisor.
Council members, you are agendized to generally discuss the work plan and items covered by that work plan. If you wanted to have a more fulsome discussion about a particular issue or suggestion, then you could request that be agendized separately.
But if I had an idea tonight, I could ask the council to, when it's about parking, when it's on our work plan.
Yes, you're agendized to discuss matters within the scope.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, and I think that we should gather in concrete with our subcommittees, what we have here, A, B, and C, and put them all in a letter and then have us approve it as a council. And then we present the letter with A, B, and C. You know what I mean? Not just present your idea, but all of them together as a priority.
Okay, so we as a council, then, if we decide, a few of us decide that we're gonna put together a survey and go out and do that, we do that first. We come back in August with our information that then tells you that, so it's on the agenda. We make it a part of the agenda, then we come forward with what we think these things we should write in this letter should be.
Correct.
So I don't need full council approval to go ahead and create a questionnaire and go door to door. You don't need full council.
As long as, and the legal counsel can clarify, as long as you don't represent, let's say it's a council. If you want to do that as an individual, as a North Fair Oaks resident, that's fine, as long as you don't say, I'm here on behalf of the council. You know what I mean?
How can we do it so that we can say we're here on behalf of the council? Is that not possible?
I don't know, I'll have the attorneys
So the council as a body acts through a majority vote. So any action involving someone representing the council as a body would be at the direction of.
So that means if Kathleen would like to do the survey, she would have to first agendize here. We would need to approve it, right, as a council, then she could move forward with the idea.
I apologize, council members. Is this within the scope of the annual work plan that you're developing?
It's to go collect data. Go get a little bit more information so we can get a little bit closer to understanding the goals that we want.
So generally, the specific items that will be approved as part of the work. So there's a board resolution that requires every commission or board to develop this annual work plan. And that's what your agenda is to discuss, is the development of that. So if there's something that you want included, it would be part of the discussion, ultimately the motion for it. Be how to.
Yeah.
Implement suggestions.
So can I read some language of what I would want this survey to say? If I can say it or not, is what I'm getting at.
Sure. It just has to be, what you're discussing is the work, right? So you're discussing what you as a body want included in your.
I think, Chair Prado, he's referring back to the three main goals that, right, that you guys already have.
The
And
three
so,
main goals that we
yeah.
have.
And so that's why Chair Prado's like, let's discuss these two as well, because this is what they already established as a council. And so I think that's what, and I think with Kathleen, you're trying to add on, is that what? Or-
So what I'd like to be able to understand, if we can do this, if we went door to door with a survey and opened up with dear neighbor, the North Fair Oaks Community Council would like to hear your thoughts on traffic safety, speeding, and parking on your neighborhood streets. Your response to this survey will help us identify the educational resources we need as a neighborhood to help us all slow down, save lives, and create safer streets in our community. And first question, like how important is speeding or something like that, but that would be, so I need to know if I can use the council name to do that. If not, I do something else, but I just want clarification if that's okay.
So if the council as a body wants to authorize that activity as something that the council is doing, my understanding is that there's this work plan process where you develop the things that you're planning to do for the year, and it could be incorporated into that process.
So I think the question is, how do you develop the work plan? Does that need to happen here? Does it need a motion? Or can it just be part of the work plan to add? And it doesn't.
I don't see why you would need like our authorization or approval to do a survey just to get what the community's opinion is.
That is also true. As an individual representative.
Yeah, I can do it as, but I mean, I can, I'm looking to legitimize it, but I can come up with another way. To do it. That's fine. I'm asking.
Yeah, I know, we're all asking. And then also I want to remind you all that our last study session, do you remember what we've reduced study sessions over the calendar year? But the last one of the year is in September. So September 18th is our last study session. And it would be great if we can get all of the council members to come so we can finalize everything because it's the last one of the year. And considering we didn't have one the last time. So just a reminder, when it comes to that. Is there any other ideas or discussion, or even what we've been talking about, formalizing a letter and stating, concrete what our priorities are regarding our concerns?
For each of us in our individual groups to do that in advance of the September 18th study session, so we can then present it to the full. So I think that's a really good idea. That's what
That sounds like a great idea. You should make like a motion and formalize it.
Can
And
you repeat that, please?
Can you repeat it?
that, Kelly?
I'd like to make a motion that each of the study groups meet individually within their cohorts and come up with a recommendation and a proposal for our supervisor that we can review at the September 18th study session, and then vote on it as a collective and then send it to supervisor.
That means we're not giving her anything until September? We're not doing anything until September?
well, we don't have a July meeting. And we're not reconvening after tonight until August. So it's not giving us a lot of time to get our information that we need.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So there's no motion for the study session. Remember, there's no motion items. So is that what you guys are trying to do? Are you trying to make a motion now? Because it would have to be a regular meeting to make a motion for your guys' recommendations. Oh,
Yeah, we're making a regular motion for the future study session in September.
so that would be more discussion, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also.
So I think for them, I'm asking, so it sounds like they want to do a motion now for, yeah.
So I apologize. I thought that what I heard was the expectation was that the council members would come to the study session with the intent of passing a motion directing direct outreach to the supervisor. Was that?
No,
So, no, okay.
no motion.
The motion was that we, as this body, all come to the September 18th study session and our respective reports with a plan and objective recommendations, a proposal to make to the supervisor as a collective body, and then that would be. But we all need to get our little.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify that future motion would be at a regular, not at that study session.
Correct. We would just bring ideas to the study
Yes.
session. That's it.
So it'd be discussion at the study session, motion at a future.
Yes.
Yeah, at a future meeting. Yeah, which in this case, this study session is in September. We would then agendize whatever conclusions we wanted in the November meeting.
Yes. So there's 2 meetings in September, so
Yeah.
we have, so.
A regular meeting and then the study session. But I don't think that we would have enough time.
Got it,
Yeah.
for
right?
yeah.
So we would do it the following, in the October meeting, the following month.
We do have,
Yeah, we do, we don't have one in November for Thanksgiving, but we do have one.
we do, we have one more. Yeah.
No study session.
So this September will be the last study session that we'll have for the year, and then we have 2 more regular meetings after that.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Yeah, I want to second it.
Okay, so,
We got the first.
yeah, I'll do it. Councilmember Aponte. Councilmember Daly.
Yes.
No, okay. Abstain. Councilmember Esser.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitney. Councilmember Parisi. Councilmember Orozco. Chair Prado,
Aye.
motion passes.
Well,
Yeah, we didn't do it. Do you have any public comment on Zoom or in person for this agenda item? It sounds like, don't have no public comment. Back to you, Chair.
public comment. Okay, then we are, we can move on to the next, since we've taken a decision on this. Yeah. Then we are ready for our report out. Do we have a District 4? Report out? Is there anyone here or online?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I have been on Zoom though. Here is, sorry, I'm pulling up my report out. So this week, the Board of Supervisors deliberated over budget hearings. It was 3 days of hearing from each department about their budgets. When the budget was published, we did have a balanced budget, but unfortunately this week we learned through this state that they will not be giving us the VLF funds or the complete amount, and so our budget is currently no longer balanced. That's an update there. We also, Supervisor Gaucher also did a press release for solidarity with our immigrant communities. And the last thing to report out, and I believe council member has already mentioned it, but it was the Middlefield Road closure this upcoming weekend starting tomorrow to Monday. And that's all I have to report out. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question for you, Connie. Are you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we have.
Hey, Connie, thanks for joining us and juggling all of your family duties. I hear that little cutie in the background. I'm curious with the VLS, which I know that Supervisor Slocum and others have put this on our radar. What is the actual budget shortfall that we're looking at based on that?
I do not want to misspeak. I know it was 17 million. But let me look and give you guys an actual number. So if I could just have that as a follow-up, and I'll email the council.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a question for Connie?
Just to clarify, is that for the whole District 4 or what does that cover?
What do you mean, the budget?
Yes.
Oh no, it's a county budget. The entire county.
It's 17 million, yeah. Okay, thank you, Connie.
Yeah, no problem.
So, okay, we'll start with our council members report out. I'll just wanted to remind everyone that there's no meeting next month, and this is the first time that we will have this. The supervisors have this recess, so I think it's only appropriate that we have it too. So just a reminder, next month we don't have a meeting. So we will meet again August 28th in a regular meeting. And like I just reminded everyone, we do have our last study session in September. So anything? You set it up. Oh, come on. You're only warming up.
I would say the only thing I would say that I think we need to have, and I know I follow Connie if you're still on what San Mateo County is doing to inform our residents about ICE rates, but having watched everything, the whole things that are going down in LA, I feel like we're next. So that is something I definitely want us to focus on. And what we can do to support our members and residents in North Fair Oaks. So, and then
Okay, thank you. Kathleen, anything to report out tonight?
I do. I want to give an extreme huge shout out to Supervisor Gaucher, to Josh, Connie, and Vanessa. So Vanessa. As we all know, North Fair Oaks, there's a lot missing in North Fair Oaks, and one of the things that is truly missing is any sort of cooling center. And as the climate changes and you drive around, you see within the heart of North Fair Oaks, I always say north of Fifth, a lot of small air conditioners in apartments and not a lot of respite from the heat. The supervisor and the team took a look at a request from the KIPP Excellencia school, and we realized that there were a number of classrooms that did not have any air conditioning. And if you follow any of the Redwood City Public School, the district funding and how things get parceled out in terms of money, the KIPP school is at the bottom of the list when it comes to getting anything from the district. And so Supervisor Gaucher and the team got the Board of Supervisors to approve a Measure K allotment for the school to purchase portable air conditioners for all of the classrooms that don't have it. And there's a ton of research. Matter of fact, another article that just came out today that talks about the effects of heat on students and what it does to their learning, what it does to their day, how it affects teachers. And so super grateful to the district and the team and supervisor to award that money to the school, and the 24 classrooms, or not, wait, we do that. It's either 12 classrooms will have portable air conditioners headed into the fall. So on behalf of, thank you again to the supervisor and the team for making that happen.
Thank you. Great news. Brooks, anything to report out?
Yeah, just real quickly, I attended the Flood Park celebration opening and the groundbreaking for the playground a couple of Saturdays ago. It's going to be a fabulous resource for North Fair Oaks. There's a new two playing fields are going to be developed over time. One of them is open, ready to go, depending upon how it's configured. It's basically a soccer field for under 12 or under 10. How it's set up, and as I understand it, North Fair Oaks groups are going to have priority on the schedule of those soccer fields. So it's a super resource for the community. You got to get over there and take a look at what's happening. It's really amazing.
That's awesome. Great, thank you. Kathleen, is there something that you missed that you want to say?
Regarding what Kelly was talking about regarding immigration customs, make sure that all of us should have the rapid response telephone number in your phone. If you don't, their resources are available and I'm happy to share them. But if you do see something, you please call.
Thank you for that reminder. Beatrice?
I don't have anything to add, but just if you do see something, take pictures and I know Live in Action is very active and they try to verify if it was an ICE raid or not. So just make sure. I know a lot of people in the community they're scared, and it's completely valid. So just making sure that what we see and making sure that if it is that, or we're just confirming just to make sure that people feel safe at the end of the day. I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding the community of that thing. Blair?
I went to the community affairs pool event and I think I did Tonga dance. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but it was
Hula dance.
Hulu, yeah.
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian. I liked all the events that are continuing to go on, and it's a positive thing. There's stuff about like aging in place, dealing with seniors in the community. I did the Flood Park thing too. It's more like they just turn the shovel, but they got a lot of work to do. It's like weeds and fencing and all that. That's a couple of years away. Middlefield, I see a lot of people riding bikes. I would not have bet that as many people are daring to do it as actually are getting out there. And I see cars and crosswalks kind of working together. People hit the button and it flashes. It's kind of settling a little bit. It was crazy maybe the first month, but you know, we're making some progress. It's not all doom and gloom. That's all I got.
Thank you for that, Blair. I'll be looking for your dancing videos on YouTube.
I have it.
Okay. We'll move on for now. Christian, anything to report out this month?
Well, thanks again for the welcome, and I get to meet the two other members who weren't able to make our main meeting. I was happy to get the mailer about the road closure this weekend, so that's good to see that, you know, we at least have that out there for the community, and I've also seen on social media, so hopefully it's not, I mean, traffic's always crazy, but hopefully, you know, we can manage. I was gonna bring up the idea later on about like electronic information signs. I work in the Redwood Shores neighborhood and they have two in their area. But again, on social media, I saw the County San Mateo post a video about the work that's being done in Middlefield Road. So like the digital bus stop displays, the smart trash and recycle bins, the solar powered benches. But they also announced the digital kiosks that are going to be on Middlefield Road with news and events. And, you know, I don't know who's going to be managing that, but hopefully they can insert something about our meetings. So, you know, get more people here.
Absolutely.
And in talking about, again, the road closure by train tracks, maybe installing another one of those like North Fair Oaks signs or like one of those digital kiosks, just so, I mean, I guess it will be back for like traffic, distracting drivers, but just a sign, I guess, to like a welcoming into Middlefield. But yeah, that's all I have.
Excellent. I think we need to put Blair's dancing video on the kiosk. We'll get more members to our meeting. If there are no other comments, I'd like to close the meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We all move. We all stand adjournment. Aye, say aye. Aye, aye, aye. Okay. Aye, aye, aye. Thank you. Thank you.